The duel between Hawaii and Pepperdine about to begin. These are the 5 pairs that we will see for each team, and these are some of the best in the country, aren't they, Cameron?
They are. I mean, you look at Hawaii right now. They are on a 31-match win streak, including that win this morning, which, by the way, is Jeff Hall's 100th win.
That's a look at what you see when you go to the app. Again, every single one of these matches are available on the app. Despite what we're covering on television, you can watch another match on your mobile device. These are the ones, Deanna Kraft and Corinne Quiggle for Pepperdine, Emily Maglio and Kaiwi Shook for Hawaii. Long opening rally to start this duel for the ones. Into the corner, poked, winner.
Sam, I don't think we've seen more pokies in one rally than what just happened there. That was back-to-back pokey joust, and then a pokey to finish the point.
I just love that we get to say the word pokey. It's a beach volleyball sport. Explain what that is for people that are just tuning in, coming in from work and hearing that word for the first time.
Well, so in the game of beach volleyball, you are not allowed to have an open-handed contact pressing the ball and redirecting the ball. So you have to have what's called a knuckle, so you can kind of curl your fingers over, and you have to have a hard contact on the ball.
Good block there by Maglio. Maglio is 6'3", Shook is 5'9". It's a true big little team.
Huge pickup play by Corinne Quiggle out of the net.
Quiggle, the West Coast Conference Player of the Year. Kraft, the Defender of the Year in that conference. Here's a look at the Hawaiian team. Maglio, a Canadian. She's more of the quiet, reserved one, whereas Shook is all energy and more of the loud one. Just finished all of her course requirements. Is going to graduate in a matter of a couple of weeks. Let's head down to Holly. Holly?
Well, this Pepperdine team is so interesting. Remember last year they finished in second place, losing to USC, and that loss and that feeling is what has been driving this Waves team all season long. Their coach, Nina Matthews, said to us, it drove us in preseason workouts. We would have flashbacks. We would be running or biking or doing cardio, and everybody would just remember that horrible feeling in that loss last year. So they are on a mission this year to stay in the winner's bracket today with a win here over Hawaii would be a huge priority, making them one less game that they would have to play on Sunday. So a step closer to redeeming that terrible memory has been what's driving this Pepperdine team all season long.
Yeah, Pepperdine, a very motivated team for a number of reasons. Of course, Holly touching on that reason for being motivated, and Nina Matthews' retirement as well, pushing these players as well. Kraft and Quiggle, they push each other on the court from what we're told. They are a perfect pairing in that they're able to criticize each other constructively, leave it on the court. Very good friends off the court. They've been a fantastic pair for Pepperdine, uber competitive, but in a good way, the staff tells us.
I love what Marcio Sicoli, the assistant coach at Pepperdine, who will become the head coach at Pepperdine for the beach program, said about these two. He said they are so good about notifying one another about what needs to change, what adjustments they need to make, and they give really raw feedback, and they're both able to handle that raw feedback immediately, which for a lot of athletes is very challenging.
Nice shot there by Kraft. Kraft had the tough decision of playing indoor volleyball at Wisconsin or the beach at Pepperdine. Obviously, you see what she chose. She's from the state of Washington, and very adamant to make sure that young players in that state realize that they can have this type of success on the beach.
Quiggle's last two steps on her approach are some of the quickest I've seen. I mean, her ability to close in on the ball, especially from that right side, getting the ball on her right shoulder so she can hammer.
Quiggle, a two-time All-American. She just graduated this past week, but she turns 21 in a week. Graduated from high school early. Actually, her senior season, she graduated from high school a semester early and spent the last half of the school year on the beach with Holly McPeak every day, training and getting ready to play collegiately.
As a lot of these student athletes have done. Holly with her elite beach volleyball club in LA trains so many of these high-level student athletes.
7-5, Pepperdine up in front here in the ones. Big power delivered there by Kraft.
I love that. That's just a perfect setup for Kraft. I mean, the pulling blocker, she attacks Maglio as she's coming back. Maglio's feet still moving. Just not able to control.
Maglio unable to get that shot to clear the net, and they will change ends now with Pepperdine in the lead 9-5. Ina Matthews with the ones out here as we're underway in the first set on all 5 courts. Winner of this stays in the winner's bracket and will meet Florida State, who pulled off the upset of the #1 team UCLA just prior to this duel.
Great defensive pull from Deanna Kraft. And you're starting to see a little bit of frustration from the Hawaiian team. I mean, they're having some major issues, especially in transition. Kaiwi Shook is known to be this boisterous, loud, very energetic athlete, and you can kind of see it on her. She's a little bit frustrated.
Holly, you have an ad on that?
Yes, absolutely. When they just made that changeover from one side of the court to the other, Shook, who was earlier yelling and screaming and so exuberant, was very quiet, dead silent. Their coach, Jeff Hall, for Hawaii, really jumped in quickly and was like, let's show some confidence here. I think body language is a big thing that's kind of wilting right now for this Hawaii pair. They can't let their frustration show.
Well, that'll make her feel good. Maglio with the kill. Why would Kraft and Quiggle be so frustrating for Maglio and Shook?
I mean, right now they're really in system. I would love to see a little bit more service pressure from Maglio and Shook. I mean, right there, getting a solid ball from Kraft out of serve receive. And then Quiggle's playing some incredible defense. I mean, that play, to send that ball, to have the IQ to send that ball into the net so that it's almost as if an extra contact is happening for their team. And then allowing for Kraft to have time. I mean, you're going to see it right here. Check this out. So she purposefully sends it into the net, gives Kraft opportunity and time to get to that ball. That's IQ.
11-7, Pepperdine with the lead. Little off speed there. Works for Maglio. Side out Hawaii. Maglio, majoring in human development, just finished her final big paper on the flight here to Gulf Shores. Maglio lives in Escondido, California. Actually, Maglio's from Canada. It's Shook who lives in Escondido, California. Shook's parents drive all over the country to watch her play.
And I love to see just the aggressive power swing from Maglio. Maglio is also an indoor player. She is a phenomenal middle on the indoor side, and she gets set extensively for Team Hawaii.
And Maglio likes playing beach because she gets to touch the ball a lot, unlike when you're a middle. So Hawaii trailing Pepperdine at the ones. Kraft and Quiggle up 12-9 against Maglio and Shook, looking for that spark to come back on this beautiful end of the day here in Gulf Shores. UCLA getting upset earlier today. The McNamara's, though, did secure a point for the Bruins. They won their match at the ones. But overall, UCLA facing elimination tomorrow as we begin to wrap up play here on our first day of coverage. Florida State beat UCLA, snapping the Bruins' 31 dual win streak. They had won 31 in a row. USC escaped elimination, winning 3-2 against Florida International. Florida International and South Carolina, the two teams eliminated here on day one. Pepperdine and Hawaii closing down the day here in this winner's bracket duel. If you go to the ESPN app, you can watch any 5 of these courts you desire. Here's what's happening right now across all 5. Pepperdine is leading on 2 courts. Hawaii is leading on 3 of the courts, but we still don't have a set that's complete yet. Pepperdine, by the way, the number 2 seed runner-up to USC last year. Hawaii is the number 3 seed at this year's championship. Set over to court 4. Hamayan and Ozzy for Hawaii, Caputo Filippone for Pepperdine.
One thing that's really cool about this Hawaii team is that they have 8 returning starters from last season's NCAA tournament. However, none of them have played together in that NCAA tournament last year, so these are all new pairings. And I love the way that Jeff Hall kind of sets up his pairings over at Hawaii. They did this thing called the Matrix, and we cannot talk about it enough. And we talked about how different all of these teams and how they choose their teams. Well, there's a 9-day event where they're playing, each player is playing with 3 different players. One that they choose, one the coaching staff chooses, and then kind of a random one thrown in the mix. And from that, they kind of figure out a point scoring system to know what pairings go together. But what's also very interesting is that the only pairings that are still the same from that matrix at the beginning of the season are pairs 4 and 5.
And Nell Fortner's joining us now. Hey, Nell.
Hey, y'all, look, and this pair is so much fun to watch. Look, they are on a 25-match win streak right now. That includes their win this morning against South Carolina. They're struggling with Pepperdine. It's a wind situation. They're not scoring enough points on the good side, what you call the good side, which would be facing the east. But Pepperdine really outstanding in reading what Hawaii is trying to do with the ball. So it's been an interesting set so far.
It's also interesting, following up on Nell's comment about the wind, because the beach courts 4 and 5, they're right by the water. The wind is stronger than courts 1, 2, and 3. In fact, I was on court 2 earlier today, Cameron, and one side of the court had the good side wind, the other side of the court had no wind, just because of the way the Jumbotron screens are set up and the speakers here. You're a little bit closer to structures on courts 1 through 3, where you're a little more exposed out here on 4 and 5.
Yeah, I mean, the wind right now is a little bit changed from this morning. Earlier this morning, it was an onshore wind kind of coming from the left to the right of what we are facing. However, now it's just more of an onshore wind, so that ball is going to be traveling more inland. So one side of the court, it's more not so much one half of the court and the other, it's actually about what side of the court you're on that kind of changes that.
And look, I think all things considered, we've been very fortunate with the wind today, because we were all told how tough the wind can be. That was a big point of emphasis in our meetings with coaches yesterday, was how they prepared for the wind. Pepperdine, of course, plays its matches at Zuma Beach, which is in the wind, so they are a very good wind team traditionally, but that hasn't been a storyline today. The Ivy League Men's Lacrosse Championship right now currently beginning on ESPN News. Penn and Yale in that championship. And so we've got a little long here in the beach volleyball. Full day of coverage, which started this morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, so 10 Eastern. And we're in the final match of the day. Still no first sets complete, but we're getting very close on several courts, including this one. Big swing there by Ozzy, sophomore from Maui.
Now that's one of my favorite shots right there. If you're off the net, that deep middle shot really forcing the 2 defenders to have to communicate and figure out who's going to take that ball, especially for the pulling blocker, can be very challenging.
Ozzy was the Hawaii high school high jump champion. You could see it in that last play. But Pepperdine now has a set point here at the 4s. That just goes out. Still set point though, but nice aggressive try by Filippone. Hamayan back to serve, of Afghani descent. Hopes to play in the Olympics for Afghanistan. And the opening set goes to Pepperdine. So Pepperdine wins the first set of the duel, and it comes on court 4. Let's head over to court 1, where Hawaii is trying to close in on the opening set as well, but Pepperdine now closing the gap to 3 as they change ends. Maglio and Shook up 19-16.
Now, just like the last duel that we just saw where FSU caused UCLA to go home in last year's NCAA tournament, this is a bit of the same matchup, same idea here between these two teams, Pepperdine and Hawaii, as Pepperdine sent Hawaii home last year after they worked their way back through the elimination bracket.
Point to Hawaii, set point for Hawaii now. Maglio and Shook have a set point. Rowe and Bauer for Pepperdine have a set point at the 2s. That's on the right-hand side of your screen.
Just the confidence from Corinne Quiggle, set off the net. She knows Emily Maglio is going to pull. The vision to see her pulling into the angle and the communication that takes. I mean, taking a rip right into her.
Still set point on both courts. For Hawaii on the left, for Pepperdine on the right. Set goes to Pepperdine at the 2s, and it's still going at the 1s.
And back-to-back points from Corinne Quiggle doing the exact same thing. Maglio pulling down the line, great court vision, sees her and attacks it.
A third set point here for Hawaii for Maglio and Shook. Shook pokes it down the line, and there's the set. So Hawaii takes the set at the 1s. Man, this is a close duel right now.
Yeah, and talk about the turnaround in this first set for Maglio and Shook. Early on, they looked pretty frustrated. They weren't super happy with their play. And Holly Rowe informed us of that too. You know, the side switch, they had to be confident and go after that pair at Pepperdine.
Kahn and Weaver have set point for Hawaii here at the 3s. They wanted a net violation, didn't get it. Still set point for former University of Missouri Tiger Carly Kahn and her partner Weaver.
Laurel Weaver is just so fun to get to talk to. She loves nutrition. She brought her own food to the tournament. She's vegan, and she also works as a coach and has from time to time working with several younger kids in high school.
See over at the 5s, it's set point for Hawaii. Now back to the 3s, set point Hawaii here. That is point to Hawaii. So there's the set. Kahn and Weaver secure the opening set for Hawaii at the 3s. So Hawaii winning the first set on courts 1 and 3. Pepperdine winning the first sets on courts 4 and 5. This is a tight one. Well, while we were away on court 5, Hawaii wrapped up the opening set. Zalapany and Drews against Dilfer and Lyons. This was set point. And so Hawaii winning 3 of the 5 courts first sets. Set over to 2 now. Martin and Monkhouse for Hawaii against Rowe and Bauer. This was one where Rowe and Bauer of Pepperdine won the first set 21-17. Things rolling along here to start set number 2 as Pepperdine up by 2.
Oh, and just an ace down the middle. I love the aggressiveness of that serve from Pepperdine.
That was Bauer who delivered it. Has a 36-inch vertical leap. Wants to be a chef one day and have her own food truck.
Let's go,
Bauer's really stepped up her game from last season. I talked to Marcio Sicoli, the assistant coach at Pepperdine, and he said she's really matured in her understanding of the game. It's one thing to be physical and to be gifted athletically, but in the game of beach volleyball, there's so much you can learn technically and tactically, and she's really improved on that side. And just this pair in general, he says this pair can win based off their pure athleticism. However, to win at the 2s, it's got to be more than just athleticism.
Rowan Bauer looking very strong here to start the second set. 6-3. And Hawaii won the first set on 3 of the 5 courts. This is a winner's bracket match. The loser goes to the elimination bracket tomorrow. Service error by Rowe. It's the final match of the day. Goes out. Let's join Holly Rowe courtside. Holly?
Well, you were just talking about this incredible pair, freshman Brooke Bauer and Madeline Rowe as a junior, a young pair, but the technical and tactical part of their game that they are improving is something that they measure at Pepperdine. I was very impressed speaking with Marcio Sicoli, who is the assistant coach who will take over next year as the head coach, and he has developed, in concert with Nina Matthews, a system called BVR, Beach Volleyball Rating. It is a live standard, a way to measure what good looks like. And by that I mean it's similar to the QBR, the quarterback rating in the NFL, where physical testing, jumping ability, ball control, playing time, they measure the mental, the tactical, the physical, and the technical. And they said last year, with all of these measurements that they were taking in the constant competition, that it was really a good way to say, hey, we thought these should be the #1 pairs. The BVR is backing up what our eyes were telling us and our gut was telling us, that these two really are good enough to be in the twos, and it's been held up by the BVR.
It's also a way to keep your players competitive with each other in a healthy environment as well, because they have that statistical measurement to grade themselves by, and so they're constantly pushing themselves to become as good as they can be. Pepperdine and Hawaii in the final match, the final duel. It's underway here on this beautiful Friday evening in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Hawaii and Pepperdine in the last duel of the day. A beautiful end to the day here in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and it's turning into a little waves weather, as they say, as the wind picks up here at the end of the day. So we'll see how that affects things. Hawaii won 3 of the first 5 sets across these 5 courts. You can go to the ESPN app and watch any one of these courts you choose. And of course, we continue to focus on every single match we think is worthy of our attention as they come to a conclusion here. Pepperdine, the #2 seed, made the championship match last year, lost to USC, and Hawaii, the #3 seed this year. A lot of people saying this could be Hawaii's year to win it all. So this is quite an intriguing matchup between these two tradition-rich programs.
Hawaii with a ton of experience returning from the NCAA tournament, 8 starting returners. And Pepperdine, they've got 5 as well. However, the pairings are all just completely different for Hawaii. So they have a really good system in place in practice where they are constantly moving players around. And one of the things they talk about, especially Jeff Hall, talks about being O positive. And I know that Holly Rowe loves being O positive and what that means.
Court 2, Bauer and Rowe against Monkhouse and Martin. It was Bauer and Rowe that won the opening set. And every match right now is very close. So the only one that seems to be going one way or the other is Kahn and Weaver leading on at the threes. They won the first set. They're up 11-5 in the second set. And let's rejoin Holly Rowe courtside. Holly?
Okay, I think Cameron is lovingly teasing me for being dumb. But
No.
Coach Jeff Hall kept
It was
talking
adorable.
about O positive. And in my brain, I was thinking he was like, oh, we're positive. We're so positive. Oh, how positive. And then about halfway through the conversation, I was like, oh my gosh, he's talking about a blood type. And what he means by that is O positive blood is universal. It can go for anyone. It can save anyone. And that's why he mixes up the pairs. They practice with all different people, meaning you can go with anyone. You are that universal person that can play with any person on your team. So you got to be O positive, as in the blood type, and flexible. So hello, grow up, Holly Rowe. Understand what he's talking about.
It was just fun seeing the light bulb go on for Holly yesterday. That was one of my favorite moments of the day. This is the 2s, and we're going to head over to the 5s, where Zalapany and Drews won the first set for Hawaii and are up 10-7 here in the second. Again, this is one of the pairs that Jeff Hall's matrix produced.
Paige Drews, just a freshman, coming in and doing a lot of work for this Hawaii team. I mean, this is a deep team for Hawaii, so for her to come in and be able to work her way up and even into the lineup is just so impressive and a testament to how good she really is.
Drews on the right there with her back to you, number 12. To her left is her partner Zalapany, who's getting her master's degree in social work. Nice cross-court swing and kill by Drews. Nice save by Drews. Drews, originally a walk-on, just awarded a scholarship after proving Jeff Hall wrong. He really was surprised at the success Drews has been able to have coming into college. She's just done it through hard work and determination, earning a spot on the team and then in the lineup. Now a scholarship athlete.
He said she's just resilient in her play.
Drews was a high school beach All-American. She's one of 7 on the roster here at Hawaii. Well, this is the NCAA Beach Volleyball Championship. Our coverage will continue tomorrow at 2 Eastern on ESPN2 with duel number 9. This is duel number 8, by the way. For more information on the NCAA Women's Beach Volleyball Championship, a site I go to very often, NCAA.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championships, and this is certainly one of the most popular. Beautiful venue here. Let's head over to court 1 now. The 1s, Maglio and Shook took the set from Kraft and Quiggle to start it, and they've got a 2-point advantage now here in the second set.
Just a missed contact there from the serve from Kaiwi Shook.
It was fun to see the turnaround from Maglio and Shook in that first set because they were down to start the set. And Jeff Hall really motivating them and getting that spark back. No matches complete so far, but we're well into the second set on every court. This to keep a team in the winner's bracket and face Florida State tomorrow, who beat UCLA just prior to this duel.
Nice contact by Maglio. That is what in-system volleyball looks like out here on the sand. A perfect pass, getting Kaiwi Shook all the way up to the net to get that apex set, the set that goes straight up and down, almost like a 2-ball in the indoor side of things. And Maglio just able to terminate.
Maglio, one of 4 Canadians on this Hawaii team. Coach Hall from Minnesota and attends the Canadian Junior National Championship every summer. He's been able to attract a lot of the Canadians to come to Hawaii, and why not? Unless you just don't like beautiful, warm weather.
Oh, what a fun place to play.
All 5 courts in action right now in this final duel of the day. If you go to the app, this is what you can see, and you can pick any of these 5 courts to watch at any moment. You can see Hawaii won the first set in 3 of the 5. Pepperdine right now is only leading on courts 4 and 2. Could have our second straight upset of the day if Hawaii is able to hang on and win the second set in those same 3 courts.
I think that speaks just to the openness of this tournament. I mean,
agree.
UCLA obviously coming in with the #1 seed and very, very tough. However, we just saw them lose to Florida State. USC has been just so dominant for the last 3 years. I mean, it's incredible to see how this game has changed just within a year. USC losing 5 of their seniors. They called them the Fab Five. Did so much work. One of those pairs, Sarah Hughes, Kelly Clays, just a phenomenal pairing who play on the AVP Tour, now split up, playing with different partners. But that USC group, so solid.
All the coaches yesterday were in agreement on one thing, and that is that this year's championship is wide open. There's no one team that's a heavy favorite. We just saw the number 1 seed UCLA get beat in the last duel by Florida State. It's very balanced. We have 4 West Coast teams, 4 East Coast teams.
And like Brooke Niles, the head coach of Florida State, said, I mean, it's just so fun to root for different teams. And she said they're the underdog right now. And they're going to celebrate tonight, but get back to work in the morning.
That goes out. And Hawaii trying to close in on the victory here. Shook is back to serve. 19-15. This could give Hawaii a match point. And they've got it. Maglio delivers the kill, and it is match point Hawaii as they change sides.
And now you're seeing that smile of Kaiwi Shook. I mean, just so energetic. They call him a little bit of yin and yang, these two, Maglio and Shook. Shook bringing so much energy, and Maglio just so dominant at the net.
That just rolls over on the Hawaii side of the court. Point Pepperdine. Sigh of relief breathed there by number 1, Corinne Quiggle, the West Coast Conference Player of the Year. Still match point, though, for Hawaii. And the kill delivered by Shook gives Hawaii the first point in the duel.
And just an absolute rip from Shook. They got so aggressive in that match. I love how they turned around after a slow start in the first set.
Pepperdine's Rowan Bauer, though, a point away here from tying it up. It's match point Pepperdine. Pepperdine on the left-hand side of your screen. Hawaii on the right. That is poked into the backcourt. Point Hawaii. Still match point, though, for Pepperdine.
Just a bit of a ball handling error there from Pepperdine. Set just too tight and over the net.
Monkhouse to serve. And Pepperdine takes the match here at the 2s.
Rowe wanted to finish that point off. I mean, out of serve receive and then sprinting across the court. Just the athleticism from her and the leap, that 36-inch vertical, doing some work for her.
So the duel is tied at 1. We'll move over to the 4s. Ozzie and Hamayan against Caputo and Filippone. And that could be going to 3 if Ozzie and Hamayan can figure out a way to win 2 more points. They're in a timeout at the moment. So let's move over to the 3s. Kahn and Weaver trying to give Hawaii its second point of the duel. 2 points away from doing that, up 19-12 here in the second set. This is Weaver serving. That is just wide, and it is match point Hawaii.
Looked like Pepperdine wanted that ball mark checked.
That's a clean area there that they sweep around the line so you can see the ball mark. Service error by Weaver. Still match point, though. Dyer will serve. And Carly Kahn secures the point for Hawaii. And Hawaii takes a 2-1 lead in the duel now, needing to win just one more court to pull off our second straight upset of the day. Let's go to the 4s. Ozzie and Hamayan trying to force a third set against Caputo and Filippone.
Nice hustle play by Hawaii, but just not enough. They've got to be able to control that contact. That was a free ball opportunity, meaning a high ball, kind of with like a rainbow coming over the net. That's when you have to convert on.
Toweling off is number 3, Ozzie, Amy Ozzie. She's from Maui. Her dad was in the Canadian Olympic trials for downhill skiing and then was a pro windsurfer in Maui. Her mom's done big wave surfing, shortboarding, windsurfing, now a distance stand-up paddler. A very athletic family. Ozzie was the state high school high jump champion as well in Hawaii. Good block there by number 15, Filippone. And all of a sudden, Filippone and Caputo are 2 points away from finishing that match off and leveling the duel.
Filippone's coaches call her just a beast at the net, and you see it there. The delayed block on the shoot ball, really disciplined.
Over at the fives, Dilfer Lions denying a 19-18 advantage to the Hawaiian team, and instead it's Dilfer Lions who are up, must force a third set on that court to keep the duel going. And an ace sends the fours to a third set. The fives, Salopany and Drews trying to end this. Set point Pepperdine, however. What an end to the set for Dilfer and Lions as their backs have been up against the wall.
It's a huge moment right now. Lions is going to serve, run up to the net. It's got to go over now.
Another point, and this time it comes with the set for Pepperdine.
Talk about clutch for Pepperdine at this 5 spot. Being able to continue this duel, extending it.
It's such a momentum-driven sport, and that is a lot of momentum picked up by Dilfer and Lions as they came from behind to win that set. I mean, this duel was on the line with that set.
And this is the fun part about this format. Right now, the beach from courts 1, 2, and 3 all are completely empty. And now everyone has moved over to courts 4 and 5, so they pretty much split. There's such a crowd over on 5, and you'll just see this mass of people throughout this event shifting to whatever game is best serving them.
This is the final duel of the day. It is duel number 8. And this is a winner's bracket duel. The winner moves on tomorrow to face Florida State at 4 Eastern on ESPN2. Florida State upsetting UCLA, the number 1 seed, earlier this afternoon. Hawaii trying to beat the number 2 seed, Pepperdine, which would mean our 1 and 2 would face elimination tomorrow at 2 Eastern. What are your thoughts about tomorrow, Cameron?
I mean, I am just kind of in awe of what's happened today. I mean, there's been a huge upset. USC going down also. I mean, UCLA losing to Florida State is also really surprising. I mean, Florida State earned that win, do not get me wrong, but definitely some fun volleyball happening. I mean, I'm so excited to see what happens tomorrow and who fights their way back up and through the elimination bracket.
Well, it's been a West Coast dominated sport so far, as we're just kind of in the infancy stages of a sport that I think is going to absolutely explode. And the West Coast teams are being pushed right now. USC, UCLA in the elimination bracket. LSU will play UCLA tomorrow, getting past South Carolina, and the loser of this one plays USC at 2 Eastern.
Well, and I think that's a really good point that you just said. I mean, the West Coast teams are being pushed. If you were to look through the ABCA rankings throughout the season, the West Coast really did dominate that top group. There are a few that snuck their way in there, like Florida State. But I think it's very interesting to see kind of that dominance on day 1 so far. Well, East Coast really bringing in the power.
The final set here, the duel is on the line. Pepperdine cannot lose another match, and there are 2 left out there, both in a third set. Third set hasn't started yet at the 5s, but the beach is packed around these 2 courts. This is first of 15, win by 2, the third set. Perfectly placed by number 3, Ozzy.
Ozzy just finding the back corner. It could not have gotten any closer to the back line.
Ozzy, just a sophomore. This team had Hawaii's longest win streak of the season. Little miscommunication there. Point goes to Pepperdine. 2 points apiece.
You know, the Hawaii staff really had nice things to say about Amy Ozzy's work ethic. They said, you know, she's not just the kid that shows up early, does her work, and then stays late. She's the kid that goes to workouts, goes and gets reps in right before she has to go to class, goes to class, comes back out, gets more touches by herself on the sand, then goes to practice, and then will stay late. It's even said Evan Silverstein, the assistant coach, found her once asleep on the sand with all the balls spread around her. That's how hard she works.
Hawaii does their weightlifting from 6 to 7 in the morning, and then they go to class, come back for practice later. And you filled in the gaps there nicely, Cameron. Ozzy, very driven. Her dad, a world-class windsurfer, has his own windsurfing shop in Maui. Her mom owns a place called Mana Foods, which is supposedly the best health food store on the island. Caputo and Filippone up 4-2. Pepperdine cannot lose one of these 2 remaining matches. Hawaii trying to win the duel. Good shot by number 15, Filippone.
Filippone really working her approach into the middle of the court there as that set was right up the middle, and then just drifting that ball back towards the line.
Filippone, just a freshman from Del Mar, California. Nina Matthews saying as she knew Filippone would have to play as a freshman because she's that talented. She just wasn't sure where she would play. She's at the 4s. Let's move over to the 5s. They're starting the final set. Remember, Dilfer and Lyons came from behind to win the second set. Let's see if they carry the momentum over here to start the third.
Oh, and what a beautiful shot from Dilfer. Wow, what a cutty.
Let's head back down to Holly Rowe for more. Holly?
Well, guys, it was very interesting. The 5s over here, as they were waiting for this third set to start, Pepperdine's 5s were sitting under their little umbrella, and they were just, you know, kind of tight and kind of serious and, you know, looking at what they needed to improve. And all of a sudden, Nina Mathis, the head coach, comes over, and she's got them laughing and light. And she comes over and just loosens them up in a way to get them out of their own head. It was just a beautiful moment to observe her coaching and what touch she adds to this group. Like, hey, let's have fun out there. You'll play better if you're loose and fun.
Nina Matthews, of course, it's the final event of her storied coaching career. She's a trailblazer. She's one of the individuals who helped get this sport started and adopted as an NCAA sport. Lyons and Dilfer discussing where this serve's going to go. You can see Dilfer signaling to Lyons. Take us through the signals there, Cameron. What are you signaling to your partner when they're about to serve in beach?
You know, Sam, that's probably the #1 question that beach athletes get asked. What do the signals mean? So just the basics of beach volleyball. Blockers are meant to take away a side or a space on the court. So they're either taking up the angle or they're taking up the line shot. That's why you have shots like the high line, which means you're going high over the top of the block down the line, or you have the high angle, which is high over the block and into the angle. You also have multiple other types of situations that you can kind of change those blocking schemes. Now, the defender is meant to balance the court. So whatever the blocker is not taking away, the defender balances and shifts into a position that covers the other side of the court. Now, they have to dig the hard-driven ball in whatever that area is, and then they have to have the ability to run down those shots that do escape the block, that do go over the top or just around the edge of it.
3-2, Pepperdine leading here.
Just a quick set and swing from Hawaii. I kind of like the change of pace. A lot of times you want to keep that set the same every single time, but there is a benefit to try to changing up the height of that set if it's in a play call. Forces the blocker to have to block at different times.
I've enjoyed hearing the coaches talk about their indoor players who wanted to play beach and are very talented indoor players, but get out on the beach and for a while really just can't do anything. It's such a different game, even though it's the same sport of volleyball.
It is very, very different. I mean, the setting is completely different. Look at that reaction. Pepperdine is pumped right now.
I mean, why would you not want to play beach? Holly?
Well, guys, this match got very interesting. Just before the third set, Hawaii had to kind of scramble and find their athletic trainer to come over and treat Paige Drews. She'd really nicked up the corner of her right elbow. And since then, they've been a little slow to get started here in the third set. Pepperdine coming out with a little more energy. So let's see if she can shake that injury off and get back in the groove.
Again, this is also Drews' first experience in this championship, just a freshman. Hawaii trying to win one of these two. They're the only two matches left, the 4s and the 5s. Pepperdine must win both of these matches to come from behind and win the duel. Ozzy Hamayan on the 4s against Caputo and Filippone. That's on the left side of your screen. Point Pepperdine. Pepperdine up by 2 on that court. We're tied at the 5s. Now Zalapany and Drews move ahead by a point on the right side of your screen. And a reminder that Ivy League men's lacrosse is on ESPN News if you're tuning in for that championship. That'll come up after we're finished here. 8-5, Pepperdine at the 4s. Remember, the third set is to 15, win by 2. So Caputo and Filippone more than halfway there. That would mean it would all come down to the 5s if that one ends and goes Pepperdine's way. Point Pepperdine at the 5s on the right side, and Pepperdine edges in front 6-5. Trent Dilfer's daughter back to serve at the 5s. Of course, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Paige is his... Maddie's
Dilfer.
his daughter. Yeah, sorry. Maddie apparently has her dad's arm. Holly, you have a word about Dilfer?
Well, I was very impressed. I tweeted out this beautiful feature we did about Nina Matthews, and Trent Dilfer retweeted it with the hashtag Natty for Nina. So I love it that Dad's coming up with the trendy, hip, cool hashtag Natty for Nina. I'm on board. Hashtag.
Love it. Of course, he won the Super Bowl with the Ravens. Now an ESPN analyst, football. Actually, Maddie's mom, Cassandra, was a swimmer at Fresno State as well. That's where Trent played college football. Nell Fortner's got an ad on Pepperdine. Nell?
God, you've got the energy Pepperdine's way right now. There are a lot more fans here. They hear them, and you can see it just body language. And that's so important as a former coach. You want to see your kids' body language being so good. And right now, Pepperdine fighting back, but Hawaii not going away.
It's a tie score at the 5s, a 1-point advantage for Pepperdine at the 4s. If Hawaii wins either of these matches, the duel is over.
Now, how cool is this? I mean, we're in the third set. This could go either direction based off of these three-set matches in this duel.
That swing was out on the left side of your screen. Caputo and Filippone are up 10-8. Zalapany and Drews have taken an 8-7 advantage as they change sides over at the 5s.
And now that side change is just so critical. It's one of the only times that a coach can give any sort of information to their student athletes. And I talked to Jeff Hall about what's being said a lot of the times. He said, I'm very tactical in those moments because it's so emotional. I just try to give them as quick a feedback as I can.
It's called the walk and talk, unique to this sport. 8-8 at the 5s. Caputo and Filippone up 11-8 at the 4s. If Hawaii wins one of these, it's over. Pepperdine must win both.
Ozzy and Homayan still fighting back at that 9-11 side switch.
Let's focus in now over at the fours exclusively.
They're getting talked to by Evan Silverstein. He's got such a unique background. He loves yoga. He actually sent me a nice little meditation on YouTube to start off my NCAA tournament. And he actually used to be a lawyer at one point. He has a law degree.
There's fascinating stories all across the field of 8 teams here. Homayan's dad, who's serving as one of them, he hiked across an Afghani desert to escape that country and came to the U.S. with $40 in his pocket, lost that soon after he got here, but has turned into a very successful American dream story as a successful business owner. He and his wife, American citizens now, very proud Americans. They travel the country to watch their daughter. His name's Joseph. He actually cooks for the team whenever he shows up. And I think he will be part of our show tomorrow, we're hoping.
Huge pickup from Caputo.
And the kill delivered there by Ozzy, 12-10.
I love to see the reaction of the defenders. If you watch them very specifically, you can see them prep right before the contact, but their feet are still on contact, which allows them to run down the ball. And Caputo is just so good at making that play.
Salapany and Drews, 4 points from victory, but that's a long way in this sport. These third sets to 15, win by 2. Service error on the left side of your screen. 13-10 Pepperdine. And a nice off-speed delivery there by Lyons pulls Pepperdine within a point at the 5s.
Nikki Lyons with a nice little beach touch, just dropping that short in front of the defenders.
Getting a little help from the net is Homayan. Hawaii cuts the gap to 2 at the 4s. Drew's serving, Dilfer serving for Pepperdine at the 5s.
Nice pickup by Dilfer.
Point Pepperdine at the 5s. It's 11 all there. Pepperdine is up by 3 at the 4s. Now keep in mind, if Pepperdine can win both of these courts, they have just come from 2-1 down to win the duel. Hawaii needs to just win one of these two to pull off another upset here on our first day. Point Hawaii at the 5s and point Hawaii at the 4s.
It's just going back and forth. I can imagine just the intensity. Both courts, 4 and 5, going back and forth. They've got to hear the celebrations of the crowds and know when a point has finished on each court.
Match point on the 4s for Pepperdine. It's on the left side of your screen. On the 5s, Hawaii moves ahead 13-11.
Dilfer just trying to be a little too tricky there, trying to go over on 2, sending that one into the net.
Caputo and Filippone have just tied the duel. This duel will come down to the 5s. The winner stays in the winner's bracket. We saw UCLA get upset today by Florida State. Pepperdine is the number 2 seed, 2 points from being upset as well here by Hawaii. Nina Matthews talking to her 5 pair.
Just how fun is this? I mean, going down to the final pair in the third set, Hawaii has not beaten this team since they lost to them last year in the NCAA tournament. So if they pick up this win, it is not just about beating a team that is seated higher above them, but it's about a little redemption from last year.
But there's no fault. We just gotta just keep thinking how we're gonna score. You know what I mean? That's what we gotta do. Not waiting for them to make theirs, but you guys gotta go. So we side out for 2, we switch sides, and then we gotta come and we gotta go. Just like we do in practice every day. 2 points right here. 2, 3 points.
So the winner of this stays in the winner's bracket and plays tomorrow at 4 Eastern on ESPN2. The loser is in the elimination bracket and will face UCLA, who was upset by Florida State earlier this afternoon. UCLA, the number 1 ranked team in the country and the number 1 seed here. taken out for a second straight year by the Seminoles.
Florida State, the number 4 seed, making their way still in the winner's bracket. I mean, they call themselves the underdog, but they are still at that number 4 seed and been a really solid team all season long.
Hawaii 2 points from victory. The entire crowd is over here on this court. Both teams.
Oh, Nikki Lyons with an open net. She's got to take a swing in that ball.
That's out. Point Pepperdine. And the Waves are within 1.
Nikki Lyons just escapes there a little bit. She has a nice touch on the ball, but Hawaii could have really finished that point off.
They are changing ends. Hawaii Drew's a freshman, Zalapany a senior. Dilfer a senior, Lyons a junior for Pepperdine. This is a pressure-packed situation.
So last year at the NCAA tournament, Hawaii beat FSU in overtime just like in this situation, and it came down to the 5s just like it is now.
We are tied at 13. It is going to be dual point at the end of this next one for either team.
Out of system set, but a great swing. That's how you make something out of nothing.
Dual point for Hawaii, the number 3 seeds, trying to pull off the upset of the number 2 seeds. Back to serve for Hawaii is Paige Drews, the freshman. It's out, and Hawaii has done it. Hawaii upsets Pepperdine. The top 2 seeds go to the elimination bracket this afternoon. First, it was Florida State beating UCLA, and we end the day with Hawaii taking down Pepperdine.